We got the water.
Got it.
And Cheez-Its.
And the Cheez-Its.
Y'all never know, right? Just scooch in, right?
That works.
Take a seat, right?
Take a seat. Any seat. They're all the same. Grab water. Thank you again.
Thing right here to stop.
These must be the drinks they're cooling down for us, as they told us on the bus.
Yeah, trying to get some citrus expressed in there.
You're doing a great job.
We're trying our best.
I bet the cats just love staring at those
Oh, yeah.
little balls of twine.
Oh, yeah.
I think we've got everybody off the bus now. Appreciate you all coming to Copper and Kings. Welcome. So we are going to be hanging out here. My name is Drew. You'll mostly see me at the tasting area in the corner of the courtyard over there. Daniel is going to be leading some tours here in the next few minutes. We're going to have a few going off. There's a signboard by the fire pit. Fire pit's not on, do not worry. So there's a sign over there with the start times if you want to gather and do a little distillery tour. I feel like I see some familiar faces. Who's been here before? All right, got a few folks. Well, welcome back, and if this is your first time, officially welcome to Copper and Kings. We are kind of the oddballs in bourbon country. We love bourbon. We do have a bourbon in our portfolio, but Brandy is what we built our foundation on. And it is that foundation that we've kind of allowed to give back to our first official bourbon release as well. We're actually using our apple brandy barrels to finish a select batch of Kentucky straight bourbons. And we've got that on the tasting line for you. We did release that in September of last year. You may have had that particular bottling. We're very proud of it. It was a Kentucky exclusive product. But what we've got on the tasting line for you today is actually our second bottling of that bourbon that has had an additional 6 months finishing in our apple brandy barrels. So y'all will actually be the first to try that. We've been holding it back. But it is ready to go, so it will be an 18-month finish on that blend of 5, 10, and 15-year Kentucky straight bourbons. We, of course, also have our American brandy, our apple brandy, my personal favorite, our Butchertown Reserve Cask brandy. And then I have another special thing on the tasting line for you, which is a single barrel of a bourbon finished in our grape brandy barrels. So we've been playing around with bourbon in-house for a bit, but even before that official release last year. So the one that I have on the tasting line for you, it's a part of our Bottle Your Own program. It is a 6-year-old MGP, 21% rye bourbon that has actually been finishing for 38 months in those brandy barrels. So we're looking a little over 9 years total with a 3+ year finish in our great brandy barrels. Barrel strength, if you like that one, and want to buy a bottle to take home, I will walk you onto that production floor, let you fill it straight from the barrel, we'll seal it up for you, and you take home something that no one else can get. And if everyone who is doing the Pursuit Palooza were to partake in that barrel today, it will be gone. I can guarantee you. I think I've got about by my gauge, about 122 bottles left in that thing. So take it, please. I will not be upset. It will be all right. But we're gonna get things kicked off here. As you can see under the barn, we've got cornhole stations. There's ping pong here. Great seating area, courtyard bar, which the first welcome cocktail has been set. So please step over here, grab a Copper and Kings Old Fashioned. We've got more of them right here, ready to come off. Brendan's got the next part. And then spread out, hang out in the courtyard. We're ready to spend some time with y'all.
Got it.
Thank
got
you.
it.
Thank you. In the reflection pond. How many people have fallen into that?
A few. Gauged it this morning, 124.4 proof. So you are getting some heft there. Wanting a great barrel?
Yeah. What? Oh.
2 proof, grape-based distillate aged in bourbon and new oak.
Oh, that's the grape
Apple.
one. I wanted to try your grape one because
Yeah.
that's kind of my profile. That and sweet.
The apple brandy, 92 proof, bourbon and new oak barrels. And then when we're done aging the apple brandy, we have been using those barrels to age that blend of Kentucky straight bourbons, a 5-year, 10-year, and a 15-year Kentucky straight, finished for, in the case of what we pulled out for y'all today, 18 months.
Okay.
The previous release last year was a 12-month finish. It was great, but we did hold some barrels back, and we just did a second bottling, and that's what you got here.
Okay.
Butchertown Reserve is kind of the big bad brother to the first one, so bringing it back to grape brandy, little smaller barrel selection,
Okay.
higher proof point, real big, bold flavor, and then the grape barrel finish brandy bourbon down here, a 6-year MGP with a 3+ year finish in grape brandy barrels.
Daniel, I'll be giving you our kind of abbreviated tour. Now, this is one of 2 tours that we're going to do this hour. I was supposed to do 3, but again, being realistic, you all will have questions, and I want to be able to answer them. Otherwise, I'm literally going to get you through here, put you outside, and figure it out on your own. I will do my best to answer any questions you guys do have. Just because we are a very large tour, what we're going to do is we're just do an introduction here. We'll head into the distillery. Now, in the distillery, there's a couple things I ask. Generally speaking, these are things you probably can follow for most of your life. Don't touch random things. Don't drink random things. If you are a large group, I don't want to herd you as cats. Stick together as a group, okay? Use common
He's calling us
sense.
cats.
Watch where you're walking. The first floor won't be too bad.
Oh, you're fine.
The basement does have barrels sitting around. Those barrels have chimes. They have metal bands on them, making sure everything else safe and sound together. So, quick introduction of Copper and Kings. We were founded in 2012. We opened to the public in 2014. We were independently owned and operated until just about 4 years ago, at which point we were acquired by Constellation Brands. They own a ton of brands. A bunch of wineries like Robert Mondavi, Simi, Naomi, and Prisoner. They also own Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery in Nashville, High West Distillery out in Utah, Svedka, Corona, Modelo USA, and a bunch of other brands. We are tiny. There are 25 people in this entirety of the company. The smallest part is the distillery. There's only 2 dudes who do all our distillation operations for us. It was 3 guys, but one of them got promoted to move to Nelson, so now it's just 2. There's only 1 here right now, and to say he is stressed out would be an understatement. I don't know where you all are from, but I'm from Louisville, and right now we are in Butchertown, where they kill pigs. The largest urban pig slaughtering facility in the U.S. is 1 block south of us, where they manage to slaughter about 10,000 pigs a day. It smelled earlier. It does not smell now. Do not be surprised if it smells. It's called Butchertown for a reason. Now, this building, like all the buildings in the area, were historically related to it. This building was built in 1947 and was the Louisville Feed and Seed Company. Other buildings would have been refrigeration warehouses, meat packing plants, the shoestring manufacturers, any number of industries related to that particular industry. Now, if you haven't figured it out, we're the weirdos on the bourbon trail. We're actually a Brandy distillery. We have started aging bourbon. I know Drew referenced that earlier. If you guys want, we can talk more about that in the future, but for now, I want to focus on brandy. We use our brandy as a base for gin, absinthe, and liqueurs. Everything we produce is double distilled in a copper pot, so like the one to my right, and nothing artificial goes into our products. And the core of it all is that brandy is a fruit-based distillate, whereas whiskeys are grain-based. So with a brandy, you start off with the fruit, you press and ferment it into a wine. You then distill that into a brandy. If you were in the right geographic location or do everything in the right order of operations, you could end up with a cognac, an armagnac, a pisco, a calvados, or in our case, an American brandy. We use grapes and apples. We also have peach and pear. Our grapes are from Fresno, California. We use 3 varieties: Chenin Blanc, Muscat Alexander, and French Collivard. The apples we use come to us from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Paw Paw, Michigan.
Oh.
We use 15 to 18 cider and culinary classes of apples. These more sharp, bitter, sharp varieties of apples. We do no fermentation on site. Fermentation is done at the point of harvest. We will do both distillations here on site, along with our copper pot stills. Now we're in Kentucky for 2 reasons. 1, access to used bourbon barrels. Bourbon, of course, is federally mandated to be aged in a new make oak vessel, primarily a North American white oak barrel that can only be used 1 time. If you think about a barrel as a tea bag, once it's been used once, the vast majority of the flavors come out of that barrel. As you use it in subsequent manners, you have less and less of a flavor impact. That's why we want to age primarily in a used bourbon barrel. We don't want the maximum flavor impact. We want to remain true to the fruit nature of our spirit. The other reason we're here are these copper pot stills. They were designed and manufactured for us by Vendome Copper and Brass Works. For those of you who don't know, Vendome is the premier manufacturer of copper stills in the U.S. People won't even argue in the world. It just so happens they're our Butchertown neighbor, located about 5 blocks west of us. Puts us in a good position. We need a part, piece, or technician, or they want to showcase their craftsmanship. We send people with them, and they send people with us. Works out very well for both parties. And that is the fermentation dashboard. Neither. We do our fermentation in Grand Rapids or out Fresno. Yeah. You don't really want to transport fruits. Grapes need to be fermented within 24 hours of harvest. Apples can be cold stored, but they're still a pain in the eat. As you might imagine, the state of Kentucky is really good with dealing with grain waste. We do not have the infrastructure for fruit-based waste.
So the truck again is what we're putting.
That's why. Usually between 12 and 16% alcohol.
Yeah.
Any other questions at this point, you all? All right, go on in, please. All right, I think that's all of us. I didn't count.
Yeah, we're good. We're back.
Very good. All right, let's talk about pot stills. Now, I really hope you guys have some basic education in distillery stuff, because hell, you follow a podcast all about bourbon. If you don't, we're still going to break it down. These are pot stills. They're called pot stills because they are shaped like a pot. But being pot stills dictates how we use them. With a pot still, you do batch distillation. So we're going to load these stills up in their entirety, run 1 batch or 1 cycle. It takes about 6 to 8 hours to account for 1 round of distillation. We do that twice. Now, distillation works because alcohol has a lower boiling point than water, 173 degrees versus 212 degrees. We use this principle to separate the 2 out. Now, our first distillation is done with that grape or apple wine, and it is called the stripping run. By the end of our 6 to 8 hour batch, we will effectively stripped out all of the alcohol from that grape or apple wine. This will give us a 65 to 75 proof spirit in a holding tank with water and pectin remaining in the still. That water and pectin is a primary waste product for us, and down the drain it will go. Second distillation is called the doubling run. We're going to double the proof of that spirit. We're also going to make our cuts being heads, hearts, and tails. So now we load the still back up in its entirety with that 65 to 75 proof spirit. We can apply heat. In our case, heat is in the form of a steam coil in the base of the still. We hit 173 degrees, we'll start blowing off what's known as the heads cuts. The heads are the highest level methyl alcohols. They are not safe for consumption. They're good for hand sanitizer and floor cleaner. It's just about it. As you advance through your batch, you're getting to the hearts cuts. This is the good stuff. Stuff we're going to want to drink immediately or age in a barrel. When we get to the end of our batch, we'll be into the tails cuts. The tails are the heaviest alcohols, full of proteins, lipids, and oils. They got a bunch of available flavor congeners and alcohol in them as well. So for our purposes, we will maintain our tails cuts, flipping a percentage of them back into the next doubling run. So we can break apart some of those bonds and recover some of the flavor and some of the alcohol. That's our 2 types of distillation here. So far, so good on that talk? Yep. Word. Now, we chose to use a pot still and not a column still. Column still is what you're going to find, of course, at the vast majority of other distilleries in this region. It is, in fact, shaped like a column. It allows for continuous distillation and is a high-pressure, high-efficiency still. Taking your started fermented product, stripping everything out, and leaving you with just alcohol. A pot still is a low-pressure, low-efficiency still. It's best thought of as a giant pot of boiling liquid. Because of this, it allows a lot more flavor and in particular oils are moved through the system. These oils originate on the seeds and skins of grapes and apples. And during distillation in a low pressure environment like a pot still, will actually bind on to the alcoholic vapor, effectively making their way into our final product. We want these oils there. They're extremely important for mouthfeel and flavor retention. It's the primary reason why we're using a pot still and not a column still. Now there are two features that were designed by Vendome for us for the production of brandy. The main one is that top component called a brandy helmet or a brandy onion. The bottom opening is larger than the top opening. As that vapor rises up, a certain percentage is not going to pass through that constricted top opening. The remaining vapor in the helmet starts to form convection currents inside of that helmet. This will further increase copper contact, helping to lead to a smoother spirit, and is our only point of a process called reflux. Excuse me. Very simply stated, reflux is just that vapor pulling back into a liquid and then flowing back into the still to be redistilled. The next most important feature is that horizontal copper component, and that is our condenser. Now for our purposes, we wanted to slowly cool the vapor back into a liquid. We did not want to flash chill it. When you do it at a slower rate, you do a better job of allowing those molecular bonds to reform, creating longer, tighter chain bonds that are truer to the fruit nature of our spirit. So when the vapor first hits the front end of that condenser, it's immediately met by a manifold, split into a series of smaller pipes. We will exit that condenser right at 100 degrees, immediately flowing into the stainless vessel, a vertical vessel. That's called a product cooling tower. It allows us to cool it down to right around 60 degrees. And then into that glass vessel, you'll find on all stills called Spirit Safe. That's where we're going to check the proof level, ensure we're making all those cuts accurately. I know I'm talking really fast. I'm trying to get you guys as much information as I can. Can I clarify anything or answer any questions?
Cognacs, Armagnacs, Cavados, so they're all in pot stills, also in ferments?
No, so each one will have a different rule and regulation. So with a cognac, it is pot still. With Armagnac, it is hybrid pot column. So it's actually a pot still with a column still on top of it. Single distilled, single pass. Calvados, don't believe there's actually a dictated rule in still. I'm not positive. Not positive.
No, on the top, are they just especially for you or that's the common throughout?
It is more common throughout brandy. A lot of times we're more bulbous than flat. Ours are particularly flat and have increased copper content.
Where'd the name come from?
It's my least favorite fact is syllables. And it's very good. It leads me straight into my next little spiel before we go down to the barrel side. So, the original owner really wanted to emphasize the idea that there's a really strong musical current running through this distillery. And in order to really show that, what he wanted to do was he named us Copper and Kings because it sounded like a band name. Think Kings of Leon or Coheed and Gambrino. I say it every time. My makeup story is actually this. It was copper for the pot stills and kings, named after King Louis XIV, or 14, who famously said about his grandson, après moi le déluge, referring to the fact that the guy was an idiot and the whole empire was going to go down. Very prescient because he was right. The truth of the matter is, although that is a true story about King Louis, it's not a true story about how we got our name.
That sounds like a much better story.
It's a way better story.
How many days a week do y'all run everything?
There's two dudes. So quite frankly, there's a much stronger seasonality to distillation of brandy. Grapes and apples are available at a certain point in the year. Also, once we get about to this heat level, we can't keep up with the cooling demand. So like a lot of distilleries will stop, actually, most of the other distilleries in the region stop doing distillation because of fermentation temperature issues. Ours comes down to cooling issues with the towers outside, as well as the fact that we do not have process.
So summertime, y'all?
Summertime, basically from about now through about next part where harvest comes in. That's going to be bottling, barreling, headaching, TTB, laptoping, and that's the air production office.
So that, at that time, are you working 5 days a week, 7 days a week, or?
They're working 5 days a week all the time.
Okay.
It's run by corporate, man. They don't do 7 days.
Oh, okay.
Union.
So
The junior pot still or compared to the big one?
we'll lead straight into that right now. You got a question?
And then so the 45, it's 45 to 55. Yeah, we just have to keep that temperature cooler just because that's more of a wine thing overall.
You talking about fermentation?
Yeah.
It has less to do with fermentation, and so everything to do with fermentation and everything to do with the actual chemical compounds, these congeners that move through and can be established during fermentation. You do it colder, it's much like a lager beer. A lager beer is really tasting than an ale or a Belgian ale. flavors, off flavors, and lower the flavor profile the master distiller wanted to establish and be true to.
Your heads, your hearts, and your tails cuts off proof. Whereabouts is that?
Let's see here. Heads to heart is going to be rocking right about 155, 152. Hearts to tails is going to be right around the 50 to 45. So it's a pretty wide range, especially if we're going into a barrel. We'll keep it a little bit wider. If we're doing a clear spirit, we get much tighter because you're going to have that kind of scrubbing capacity of the charcoal. Let's meet these stills. We're going to head down to the cellar. Now, real quick, in Cognac, France, which is considered the birthplace of brandy, they always name their stills after women. And maintaining that naming convention and in honoring the original owner's wishes and this idea of a musical current running through the distillery, he asked us to name each one after a leading lady in a Bob Dylan song. 2,000 gallons, Rosemary. She is the workhorse for the distillery. We purchased her in 2017. The other three are originals. Next in size is Isis at 1,000 gallons. Magdalena, Maggie is 750 gallons. Maggie's little sister, the experimental still, is Sarah at 50 gallons. We call them siblings because they are scaled models of each other. It allows us to develop a product on Sarah, grow it to Maggie, and be confident it will taste the same. These are also primarily used in the development and production of our botanical spirits, gin and acid. The name of the device on them called a gin head or a gin basket. The gin head on Sarah is the leftmost vertical stainless cylinder behind that copper horizontal condenser. She's got a little flap opened up right now. Maggie's is on the second floor. It's led to by the two stainless pipes going up through the ceiling. Basically, the way you use this is during the hearts cut, the good stuff. You pack that basket full of either citrus or botanicals, these lighter, more delicate flavoring elements. You'll put a lever in line, allowing that hot vapor to flow up and through that bed of ingredients. It picks up all the essence of those ingredients, but none of the off flavors you would get if you directly macerated into the still. Questions before we head downstairs?
Just a quick one. What is the pool?
What is the pool?
Oh, the little, yeah.
Another dumb thing I get to answer all the time. I live in this neighborhood and have for 15 years, so I was here before this distillery. I came in for the first tour, one of the first tours, and the tour guide gave me this long story about how there's a reflecting pool, removing the need for light in the distillery. Yeah. Well, if you haven't noticed, these are LED track lights. They're on 24/7. Next up, they said that as a natural cooling feature, as the air blew over it, they pick up a moisture-laden breeze and cool down the distillery. Also, another great story. This is north-south. The prevailing wind direction is east-west. That is there because those doors are open most times of the year, and we have to have a physical barrier for where the distillery starts and the public has access. That is a moat. An extremely poorly designed moat, because we all use the corners to get in and out, but all the same, a moat it remains.
That's interesting.
Now, very last thing I'm going to show you guys, and I do need to get us downstairs because we are a little over time. We're going to just barely touch on barrels when we get down there. Drew Pomeroy mentioned that we have a barrel to bottle offering. That's a 6.5-year-old high rye NGP bourbon. NGPI bourbon, high rye build. We then put it into a used grape brandy barrel for 38 months. That is the barrel that's over here with the ampersand on it with the orange background. As you can see, there's a beer faucet coming out of it. If you decide that you want to purchase to take that home, it's $65. We'll get you guys checked out. You will then fill that bottle off of the barrel. You will then put your name on there and fill out a label and adhere that as well. You can put whatever you want on that label as long as it is not basically sexist, homophobic, or racist. I don't care if it's naughty and has bad words in it, just don't be an ass. Here, let's go down to the barrel cellar. We're all next to this way.
B for base.
Close it, close it.
Get in here. Not you, ma'am, you're too big.
All right.
What are we doing? Just signing it all
Oh,
up?
I was like, oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. I wanted to play all the time.
Whoa.
Hello. I hope there are no axes around.
Oh, there he is.
Boy, George,
So what kind of music? Is like, does it vary? Right.
You let me do the tour and you might get to the questions
Oh.
answered.
Oh.
Jumping ahead, right?
Again, I'm going to do this tour and then I can answer questions afterwards. I really don't feel like repeating myself a bunch.
Gotcha.
I've already got to do it 4 times in 3 hours.
You got this.
So, I think everybody's down here. If they're not, then you guys should keep walking. Now, I mentioned earlier that we primarily age in a used bourbon barrel, so we do not get that maximum flavor impact. Another aspect is we want to age in a largely climate-controlled environment, which is why we're in the cellar surrounded by earth on 3 sides. That, of course, is in comparison to bourbon, where bourbon is typically aged in a rick house exposed to daily and seasonal temperature extremes. At times, some parts of those rick houses can see well over a 50-degree swing in a single day. This really works in that shrink-swell mechanism, forcing bourbon super deep continually in and out of the grain of the wood of the barrel, giving it the vast majority of its flavor, color, and appearance. Brandy being a more delicate spirit, we did not want the same level and depth of penetration in and out of the wood of the barrel, but we needed a way to move it in the barrel. Otherwise, the oils that move through our pot stills would form a layer on top. The alcohol itself would stratify across the barrel, with some of it not coming in contact with the charcoal lining of the wood, and thus the music. We do something we call sonic aging. There are 4 subwoofers in the cellar and 8 other speakers. So nights and weekends when we're not working down here, we crank it all the way up, with the idea being that these deep bass notes, in conjunction with the natural amplification ability of a wooden barrel, keeps the brandy very gently moving in the barrel. This is more about homogenizing the brandy in the barrel and less about forcing it in and out of the wood. Any kind of penetration in and out of the wood is largely going to be accomplished through barometric pressure changes. Playlist changes daily based on musicians' birthdays, death days, significant days in music. Some days it's Daniel's personal preference because he cannot tolerate the band that's being played today. But today's birthdays are written right up there. Culture Club, you might as well just get straight into that. Let's see what comes up next. Now, we post that playlist every day on the front page of our website, as well as on our Spotify account. It has the entirety of the playlist. So if you are ever back home, alone, drinking our products, and you needed somebody to drink with, you can just pull that playlist up and drink with the barrels.
Is it under Copper and King's playlist?
I'm going to crank it all the way up so you guys get an idea of about how loud it gets. This is about 75% of the total volume. I have zero desire to lose my hearing by doing demos while I'm at work. I do a bad enough job with that, just going to concerts. Once I crank that up, if you guys would like, you are welcome to place a hand on one of the barrels. The barrels on the floor don't vibrate quite as well because guess what, they're on the floor. So you're better off on the rick barrels. The most vibration you're going to feel is really on this side or on that side facing here. Just know this about barrels. They are dirty, they are made of wood, and they have a metal band on them. Place a hand, do not aggressively pet or rub the barrels, okay? I'll crank it up, we'll get back together here in a couple seconds.
That's cool. Brian, keep touching.
So, that is what we're looking like on that front right there. Now, we're going to age most of our products for about 5 to 8 years. It tends to be less for apple and more for grape. Apple just tends to get dominated by the grape faster. Apple tends to get dominated by the wood faster than grape does. During our 5 to 8 year period of barrel aging, we're going to lose about 20 to 30% of the volume of the barrel to the angel share, that evaporative loss straight out of the wood. It is a lot. It's not as much as bourbon loses. We're not going through that heat cycling. But in the end, everybody has to pay their tax. You pay tax to the angels, you pay tax to the devil, the devil's cut, then you pay tax to the government, the government, the government, the government, the government, and then just one more time to the government. It is about, if not more than 6 times you pay taxes on a barrel-aged spirit before it reaches you, the end consumer. According to the gentleman at Willett, who's a single barrel program manager at Willett, he told me that he estimated, with the help of some of his cost accounting friends, about 70% of the price that you pay as the consumer is paid in tax. Wow.
Thank you.
Cheers for coffee.
And that is why Kentucky has the best roads, education, healthcare system, pre-K. No, that's a lie. We're at the bottom 5 of all this. All right, that is what I've got. Do you guys have questions for me? We can always answer them once we get back upstairs. I just need to get back up there to get round 2 of the tour started here shortly. But are there questions down here? Anything you guys want to know about? I can happily answer them for you.
How many barrels are on site?
On site, so the floor barrels were just filled. So those are going to our off-site facility. On site rick is 1,200 barrels. Off-site rigged is actually 12,000 barrels. Also climate controlled and sick tunage. It's out by the airport.
Okay.
Kind of what used to be a completely not usable space for the rest of the world, and now they have all these office complexes around it. It's been a pain in our ass. We used to only have to weed whack once a month. Now it's like you need to get out there every single week. The city called them.
Well, good for
So anyway, some jackass just dropped off a tractor trailer, scratched off the VIN number, left motor oil and fill of tires out there. And it's on our property over a creek bed. And the city's like, you guys got to do something with this.
Little heads.
So you got something? Sorry.
How do y'all color the barrel during?
We color them orange just because we don't know where they go after us. We don't have RFIDs on them. So it's really a nice way to see if we go to another brewery, distillery, or anywhere else. If we see an orange head, we can be pretty damn certain that originated from us. So it's just a way for us to kind of do a very passive tracking program.
Cool. Where do you get most of your barrels from?
Historically, it was Wild Turkey and Four Roses. Almost every distillery is now using a barrel broker. So now our ongoing rules that we try to maintain are Kentucky bourbon barrels dumped and in our possession within 24 to 48 hours. Those are our metrics we try to maintain. You know what? Try is the operative word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, can we assume there's no bro country involved in the distillation? And
No, what?
bro country, modern country.
Oh, there definitely is. They want the barrels to be the most well-rounded barrels they can. There is music out there, but it is much more up to the distillers than what gets played here. We are very public-facing. Out there, the distillers are like, I don't want to listen to Gunna today. I don't want to listen to Boy George. It's a lot more punk and jam band stuff, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Cool?
Cool.
All right.
You did good.
You guys all exit. I'm going to bring up the rear to make sure we're all out of here. Upstairs to the first floor. Enjoy the courtyard, cash bar, tastings also from Drew. So go ahead and try some other products. For you bourbon people, if you've not had our Butchertown, it's our reserve grape brandy, give it a try. Brandy is not sweet like you want to believe it is, just like bourbon isn't sweet. Turns out you distill something, there's no damn sugar in it until you add it back in there.
Yeah.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, it's gonna be a copyright. Somebody's gonna get rid of this.
Going up to the gift shop.
Where they let you.
Oh, they have a distillery
Oh,
dog.
man, there was a dog up here. We've been up here a long time ago. That's why we're up here. No, you guys.
You would have never
You
left.
didn't send us the memo. Hey, buddy.
Hi.
Are you in the book? Are you in the Bourbon Tales book? I bet you are. Oh, you're precious. Look at your buddies. Did these guys feed you?
Apparently she's Danny's dog.
Oh, yeah.
The one who gave us the tour.
Oh,
So,
fun.
what's his name?
Her name.
Her name?
Maple.
Maple. Maple.
Yeah. That's what they said. So.
Maple, the super
She
dog.
seems miserable.
Yeah.
down if you'd like. Give it to her, whoever you'd like to do that. So, what I would like to do is you can fill out this label. I already went ahead and pre-filled out the bottle number, the proof, and the date, just because I don't know what's going on right now, and I want to make sure I'm not getting swamped. So what we usually would do is you can go ahead and fill it, and then put fill by it, and then you can adhere the label. You can go upside down, you can go sideways. I don't really care, dude. Again, just don't do anything really shysty. The way we fill this, over the faucet, pull the handle forward. You don't need to hold on to the handle. It'll start flowing fine. You're filling it to the shoulders, not above and not below. 750 milliliters to the shoulders. Once you get to the shoulders, push that back. Keep an eye on it. Make sure we're all right.
So do I have to drink anything out here?
No, sir. I will put it back in there. TTB does not like overages. It does not like when you do things wrong. Neither does corporate. Neither do the distillers. There's nothing guy to your left. He has to deal with paperwork. Close. Yes. A little bit more. A little bit more. Perfect. Nailed it.
Good job.
All right. You go ahead, fill that label out. I'm going to give this to my wonderful, beautiful
Glasses?
Oh.
Good job.
I call that whitewashing the fence.
Right? Nice.
There we go.
All right, I'm on your right, sir. You can go ahead and adhere that label however you would like.
Oh, that's what we're doing.
I am.
Close up.
Yeah, I know, right?
I told you, this getting old shit's for the
Oh,
bird.
it does kind of suck. Like right when I get 40, my eyes went.
Okay. I just hit 40.
Did you? Well, you know,
You're just a puppy.
So don't do that. Don't take that kind of job.
Perfect.
Ta-da!
All right, and then you have a bag for it, right? There's space in that bag, dear?
Oh, yeah.
If not, I can give you another small one, but it looks like it gave you a little extra size in there.
All right.
You feel comfortable with
too.
it? I feel good with it.
All right, you can.
Ta-da!
Take a picture of it.
Oh, my goodness.